Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to take you through meal plan that I have for today. We're going to have some red peas and rice. We're going to have stew pork and mixed veg. Okay? In the pot here we have our red peas, which have been soaked overnight with some smashed garlic cloves. That is to soften the peas so that it does not take that long to cook. So I would say the peas will be boiling for about half an hour to 45 minutes. We're not going to pressure them, we're just going to cook them on the stovetop. And I have some scallions that have been mashed to release the flavor and some thyme. So the peas and rice is going to have some coconut milk. I'm going to put the coconut milk in now, and then I'm going to put the peas to boil. And once we have reached the 30 minutes, we will check and see how they're doing, if they're soft enough, so that we can then put the rice. Okay, in goes the coconut milk. We're using Badia coconut milk. Okay, I'm gonna give it a mix. And then I'll cover and let cook for 30 minutes, and we'll check at that time. Okay guys, now that the peas are cooking, I'm going to start on the pork. So in this pot, I'm going to put just about 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. And to that, I'm going to add some sugar, some brown sugar. And that brown sugar is going to be used as a browning agent. I'm going to burn the sugar. And then once it becomes frothy, then I will continue to mix it. And I'll show you as we go along when it gets to the consistency that I want, so that I'm able to enter the pork so that it can get brown. All right. And you have to be very careful when you are dealing with sugar and oil, that your pot, if you wash your pot and you place it on the fire before you enter the oil, you have to make sure that all of the water has dried up. If not, you're potentially, placing yourself in a situation to get burned. All right. If you look around the edges, you'll notice that the edges start to form. That is what we want, but we want the entire amount to do that. All of these crystals need to be melted so that the entire amount can be frothy. You can stir it to help it along, but it's not there as yet. Okay, I'm getting there. Okay, if you notice that it's caramelizing, that is what we want. Right now my stove is on high. I'm going to turn it down because I don't want it to burn. And this is the point. If you notice, this is the point where we want to add our pork. Okay? I'm going to pour it in. Okay? And the pot you see here, I'm going to add some water to it. All of that is flavor from the seasoning, so I'm not going to wash it out. I'm going to put some water that I would need a little later. And another thing is that the pork, although there's no water in the pot as yet, it's going to spring its own water, or if you want to call it, its own juices. Stir it, bring the ones from the bottom to the top. However, we're gonna have to leave it for a while and let it take color. All right, what I would have done, I would have seasoned my pork overnight. I washed it, I used vinegar in the water, washed it, then I rinsed it off 2 separate times after the vinegar water, so that you can take off any impurities or any slime or anything that may be on the pork that you do not want to be there. All right, you don't just cook without washing your meat. So I washed it with vinegar once, then I washed it with clean water twice, and after that I would have seasoned, and I would have seasoned it with some Zatarain's Creole seasoning, and also this says complete seasoning. However, it's my own seasoning blend that I would have made because I'm trying to cut back on the salt and sodium in my food. So I would have mixed onion powder, garlic powder, some all-purpose seasoning, and there is a seasoning called Badia 14 spices. I would have also entered a bottle of that, the 14 spices where there's no salt, and black pepper, and I mixed it all and then I placed it in this bottle. So the only thing that had salt was the all-purpose seasoning, which is low in salt. It's not that high in salt content. I also placed about 3 tablespoonfuls of my green seasoning mix, mixed it all together, and I marinated it overnight. I'm going to cover the pot and I'm going to let it sit for about 5 minutes or so before we turn it again. Okay guys, we're gonna check the pot now to see status. All right, so now we're gonna turn them. Ooh, trouble. All right. I'm gonna rinse this off and back in. cover it again, and we'll check back again another 5 minutes. Okay guys, we're gonna take another check. And if you notice, it has made a lot of its own juices, as I said before. So we're basically just going to stir it. And let it continue to cook, okay? At this point, remember the water that I told you guys about? I'm gonna throw that in on the side. And we're gonna let it cook, and I'm gonna leave it undisturbed for about 20 minutes. Okay guys, we're gonna check again now. It's been 20 minutes, so we're gonna check, see what's going on. All right. So now, if you notice, we have caramelization taking place right now, because we would have burned off all that liquid that was in the pot. Remember, I threw some liquid that was in the bowl along with what was in the pot already. So we now have the browning of the meat, which is called caramelization. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do, we are going to top off the pork with some water, just enough to cover, and then we are going to season the pot. Okay guys, we're going to check our peas now to see if they're cooked, and once they're cooked, then we will enter our rice in the pot. Okay, all right. If you notice, our water has reduced, which means our peas should be cooked. All right, if you see, they're basically half cooked, and what that means is steaming the rice will do the rest of it. So we're going to put in the rice now. First, I'm going to take out the thyme, because all of the leaves basically have already fallen off in the cooking process. So at this point, we don't need the stalk. I will leave the scallions, because they provide lots and lots of flavor in our cooking. Okay, so now in goes the rice. And always remember guys, it's not the heat that cooks your rice, but rather the steam. So we're going to turn our stove down to a medium low. But first, we're going to let the pot start a rapid boil. Once the rapid boil starts, then we're going to turn the pot down so the steam can cook the rice. Okay? I'm going to cover it for now, and I'll be back to it in a few minutes. Now if you hear something whistling, that's my kettle, which is right on time. So I'm going to turn that off. And what we're going to do with that is to enter in our pot with the pork meat so that we can start the process to finish in the pork. Okay, here we go. All right. Talk about caramelization. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna put our hot water. It's always best to hot your water before you add it. When you're gonna add water to cooking, anything that is being cooked, it's best to hot your water so that you can have the continual cooking rather than it cooling down the pot and have to then heat up again, okay? All right. Okay. Now at this stage, what we're going to do, we're going to season the pot. Okay. We'll take all that flavor off, right? See, clean spoon. All right, guys. So to start flavoring the pot, what we have here is our I have cut up our veggies. We have some green onions or scallions, red peppers, yellow peppers, green peppers, tomato, white onions, red onions, and thyme. We also have some crushed ginger, and we also have some grated garlic. All of this is going to be used to season the pot, and then we'll add some powdered seasoning, and we'll then give the pot a taste before continuing the cooking process. So in goes the garlic and the ginger, our onions and thyme, tomatoes, and our peppers, and of course our scallion. Scallion gives food lots of flavor. All right. Move this out of the way so that I can get a handle on mixing everything. Okay. Now, wow, guys, if you can only smell the aroma that is coming from this pot, it is just simply amazing. Okay. Now I'm gonna season the pot. Remember I said that I have a special mix of seasoning here, so I'm gonna use that. Majority of it is just powdered seasonings with no salt. Just very minimal salt is there. I'm gonna put some of the Creole seasoning, not much, remember we have to watch our salt content. All right, and I am going to put a little twist in my pork meat today. I am going to put a tablespoonful of jerk seasoning. I have some Grace jerk seasoning. I'm gonna put a tablespoon of that. go. Put that. Some soy sauce. It's going to be for color and also for flavor. I'm also going to put a few pimento berries. That again is for flavor. And some ground cloves. I'm going to give it a mix. I'm also going to give it a taste. The jerk seasoning says mild, but it has a kick to it, which is good. I like that. Okay, guys, so I'm going to cover the pot and I'm going to let it come up to a boil. Actually, the pot is on low heat, so I'm going to bring the heat back up to high. So if you were wondering why it took a while with the hot water, this reason is because I had it after all of the water was boiled off, rendered down. I didn't want the meat to burn, so I turned the stove down. Okay, so now I turned it back up on high. You can see it's bubbling in the corner, and I'm gonna let it cook for about 25 minutes, and I will come back and check it. Okay guys, it's time to check my rice so that I can turn the heat down. And if you notice, we're up to a rapid boil. I'm just going to give it a little stir. And also, we would need to season this pot. All right. So here we go again, my special mix. Some of my Creole seasoning. I've turned my stove down on low. Sorry. I'm gonna give it a mix. And I'm gonna also put a little more water. Take out that fine stalk. I'm also gonna put a little more water, and then I'm gonna put the rice to steam. Let's see how it goes for flavor. Good. I'm just gonna put just a little bit more of the seasoning because I'm gonna add some water. All right. Okay, this time I'm just adding some water from the bottle. Okay. And we're gonna give it a mix. Test again for flavor. All right, so now that I've added the water, you can still take a little more of the seasoning. All right. I'm gonna also put in some butter, and this is unsalted butter. It's, I'm sorry, it's called Mantequilla Sunny Morning. Sorry about the lighting, guys. Okay. So mix it up. Make sure all the seasoning gets through, because we don't want the seasoning to just sit at the top. All right. Check one last time for flavor. All right. So now we're gonna cover it. And we are gonna let it steam for 20 minutes. Guys, to help in the steaming process, I'm gonna put a piece of foil over. Always remember, shiny side up, dull side down. Then I'm gonna cover. What this does is traps the heat inside. Because sometimes, even though your pot may seem, you know, that the lid is closed, air sometimes still get in, and we don't want any air to get inside. We just want to trap all of the heat and have the rice steamed on a very, very low heat. That should give us perfection. Okay guys, I'm gonna check on the meat and see what's going on right now. All right. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right. Okay, looks really good. What do you think? I think so. Guys, I'm gonna put in some ketchup. It will add a flavor, and it will also be like a thickening agent for the sauce. All right, there we go. Good old Hunt's tomato ketchup. I'm gonna give it a mix. Right, this is looking really good. Okay, I'm going to check one of the pieces. All right. Okay, it's going good. All right. So now I'm gonna do the same. I want to make sure that I trap in as much heat as possible in the cooking process. So I'm gonna put some foil across the top of this, and I'm gonna let that cook as well. There we go. Right. Okay. Now we don't want to cause any fires, so we're gonna keep the foil paper away from the heat. All right, guys, another addition to the meal. I have a pot with some boiling water here. I'm gonna blanch some fresh vegetables, and then we're gonna season them up. So the water is unsalted because we're gonna season the veg after. All right. We have broccoli, and we have bok choy. All right. And then I'm just gonna make sure that they're submerged because they're not gonna cook for long. And also I'm gonna put some fresh mixed vegetables in with them. I'm just finishing cutting the vegetables, and I'll be right with you. Okay, here we go. Some fresh vegetables. I'm gonna pour in. This is gonna give flavor and color to the dish. Remember, we're not gonna cook them for long. And we're just cooking them without salt, as I said, because we're gonna season them after. Okay, guys, it's about time to check for the rice. So we're gonna unveil. Wow. All right. There you go. So the rice is finished. Okay, guys, we're down the final stretch. We're about to check our meat, our pork stew. This is our last check. And this is complete. I can already look at it and see it's done. Nice and soft, and nice gravy, or sauce as some would call it. So this is it. I'm gonna plate up and show you what the finished product look like. Be back in a sec. This is the finished product. We have our rice and peas with coconut milk, stewed pork, mixed veg, and plantains. Bon appetit! I want to thank you guys for coming with me on this cooking journey. Thank you for being there for Empress Views and her channel. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let me know your thoughts.